When is a good time to get your parrot a friend so that they have another parrot in their flock? Hi guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Kaylin. I have 22 species of parrots. I love parrots. Parrots are my bliss. And today I've got Emerald, my Hans macaw, and Paloma, my Cape parrot, hanging out with me, talking to you about adding a friend for your parrot. By the way, if you are new, thanks for being here. If you love learning about and getting inspired to have a more blissful bond with your parrot, you might be in the right place. And if you're used to hanging out with us, thanks for being here. Love you guys. So, when is a good time to get your parrot a friend? There's a few things that you want to take into account when you are thinking about getting your parrot a friend. Number one, the sooner the better. Why? Parrots are actually a lot like people. They even scream like people. See what I mean? Parrots are like people. When they learn how to socialize at a young age, they become social. And socialization actually really begins when they hatch and they're in their nest box with their siblings. Actually having physical touch with another parrot or their parents or both, like their siblings, actually increases their ability to socialize. So a parrot that is raised by itself and that doesn't see its parents very much, it's different. Now, the way this applies to you and your parrot is, if you have a parrot, like let's say Paloma was my only parrot, and she's a little over a year old now, getting her a friend at this point would be fine because she's still pretty young. But she might not be super warm and friendly, at least not at first. I think she would get used to it. If on the other hand, Paloma was like 25 years old and Cape parrots live about 40 years, chances are adding a second parrot at that point, that's going to be hard. As a matter of fact, actually in Emerald's case, she was a rescue. She was given to us because the owners couldn't take care of her anymore. The wife was really sick and actually passed away. And so it was just more than the husband could handle. In Emerald's case, she was the only, I think, animal in the home other than these two humans for 11 years. Emerald, therefore, actually hasn't bonded with anyone in my flock. And with 22 species, she has choices. So it's not that there's no one for her to bond with. It's that the only person she knows how to relate to is a person and not a parrot. So just with 11 years, that happened to Emerald. Now, Emerald likes being in our flock. I think she really likes being the loudest one sometimes. You're not usually so loud. She likes the fact that there's other birds. I really think it makes her feel safe and secure. And even though I don't get to spend all of my time with her because I have other birds and I'm doing other things, Emerald still seems pretty darn happy. Are you a happy girl? Are you happy? Show me your pretty wings. Show me your pretty wings. Where's your pretty wings? Where's your pretty wings? Hi. What am I doing? There's the pretty wings. Good pretty wings. Oh, pretty wings. Hi, Emerald. Hi, Emerald. Hi, sweetie. You're a pretty girl. All right. Next, if you are going to pick a friend for your parrot, one of the best things you can do to ensure a greater chance of success is, in addition to making sure that hopefully they're young and bringing them a friend who's hopefully young, because, we make friends more easily when we're young too. That's not to say we can't make friends when we're older, but generally speaking, it's easier when we're younger. But number two, if you can get the same species, your parrot is going to be able to relate to them. Chances are better than they can relate to a different species. Now, that's not to say that your parrot won't relate to another species. For example, Paloma, she actually has a cage mate who is also a Cape Parrot. But one of her best friends is my golden conure. Golden conures, or Queen of Bavaria as they're also known, are just super friendly and super social. But the two of them, they're like best friends. They really play, they really appreciate each other. Even though Paloma does have a cage mate, and she's not super duper bonded with him, but they are starting to develop a bond. So if you can get the same species, you're more likely to get your parrots to bond so that when you're asleep, they can cuddle together, or when, depending on the species, or when you are at work or off taking care of something, they still have someone, which is really super important for parrots because they are accustomed to being with their flock 24/7. Now, if you can't get the same species, or you really want to get another species, then the next best thing to do is to make sure you don't get like James and the Giant, if that makes sense. Or is it James and the Giant Peach? You want to try to get parrots that are basically the same size. Can a small parrot befriend and bond with a large parrot? Yes. However, parrots aren't going to rationalize things the way you and I would. So if I was the bigger parrot, like let's say I was a macaw, in comparison to my Harlequin macaw, Emerald here, and I had that big monster beak and I went to try to preen her, it's not to say that your macaw is going to hurt your smaller parrot, but you can see how that could happen. In other words, the bigger bird's preening and not bite, but grabbing and stuff like that, it's just bigger because it's just a bigger bird. Therefore, the size difference just kind of makes it hard for them in a way to physically connect and relate. Not impossible, but it does make it harder. Whereas if you have two parrots and they're basically about the same size, that tends to work. For example, one of my really good bonded buddies are my Mexican red-headed Amazon, Ursulus, and he's like 325 grams. That's he weighs something like that. And now he is bonded with and best friends with Henry, who's a mealy Amazon and who weighs about twice what Ursulus weighs. Henry is over 600 grams. So even though Henry is twice Ursulus's weight, and even though they're different species of Amazon, they are both Amazons, and they can still relate. And sometimes Henry is preening Ursulus and you hear a little row, because I think it was a little too rough for Ursulus. That's not to say that I don't think Henry doesn't adjust. It's just to say that in the nature, they would be with their own species. So I don't think nature has built in the ability for them to adjust their behavior and things like their preening when they're grabbing each other's feathers and helping either get rid of the shaft that they grow out in or helping spread the oils. So it's just something to keep in mind, and it's just things that are going to, like I said, help more so ensure that your parrots are going to get along. The last thing that's a great thing to also keep in mind is if you do mix species, try to research and make sure that their foods match. In other words, with Henry and Ursulus, even though they're technically two different species, they are both Amazons. And one thing that really works is that Amazons don't get supplemental seeds and they don't get supplemental nuts in their diet. Amazons are species that are prone to being overweight, and therefore they get their fresh veggies in the morning, they get pellets, they get their fresh water all the time, but that's it. They can have carrots all they want, they can have sweet potato all they want. The vegetable department, I'm not worried about, but I do limit their seeds and their nuts. Actually, if they happen to get one, they happen to get it, but otherwise it is not a part of their diet. Therefore, having them together is easy. Now, on the other hand, my golden conure, who is deeply bonded with my orange-winged Amazon, that's a problem. because my orange-winged Amazon shouldn't have supplemental seeds and shouldn't have supplemental nuts. My Amazon should only have pellets in addition to its fresh vegetables. However, the golden conure is a nut-eating bird, and she's young. So I really want her to get the fat in her diet that she needs. And therefore, I do have to separate them every day and feed her nuts, in a different dish, in a different cage. And it's just not as easy as just taking care of parrots. In other words, with Paloma, since she's in her cage and her cage mate is also a Cape parrot, I put in the supplemental nuts that are a part of their diet, and I just put in enough to make sure that they're both eating. I just watch to make sure that she's developing because she's the younger one. Other than that, I don't have to worry. I don't have to separate them. I don't have to, diets are easy. So make it easy on yourself and make sure your diets match so that when you are doing things, if you end up caging them together, that part's easy. If they're in separate cages, that's not so hard then. But don't forget, I don't think separate cages is a bad idea, but a part of the idea to getting your parrot a friend is that they preen each other's necks, because you could see how Paloma, she can't get to the feathers back here, but a mate can. And they also keep each other company. Sometimes they're in proximity of each other. Depending on the species, they'll be almost on top of each other. Some species aren't quite so much in proximity, but they are happier when they're in the same cage because they're used to that closeness because they are so social. All right, thank you for joining me in this blissful video. If your parrot is stressed out for any reason, please be sure to get Tink's must-have parrot relief on parrotbliss.com. It can help de-stress your parrot, and it has the right balance of omega fatty acids so that you or your parrot are then, with the hemp oil, getting the right balance, which is a huge contributor to health. Thanks. If you have any comments or questions, please be sure to post below, and I will catch you in the next feathered video.